Obviously, Social Security by itself is a really important part of a financial plan. And we think, this specifically is a really valuable topic to discuss because there's both a lot of confusion around it that we've heard from clients and prospects over the years. And then also for those that this applies to, it can be really beneficial to get your strategy right, as we'll see in some examples that we'll go over here. But before we get into any specific examples, just a couple points to clear up that can potentially lead to some confusion. The rules around Social Security and spousal benefits in particular changed pretty drastically in 2015, and that impacts those that were born after January 1st, 1954. And so there used to be more options for spouses that allowed you to be eligible to receive additional benefits or made more people eligible for spousal benefits. Won't get into all the details here. You might have heard of either file and suspend strategies or deemed filing strategies that existed prior to this law change in 2015. And so there's a lot of misconceptions here, just even, before we get into the calculations, just because people talk to, someone they know that's a little bit older that was able to do these other strategies and then thinks that they're eligible, and that might not be the case. And so just kind of understand that your exact strategy might depend on when you were born. If you were born before January 1st, 1954, there are a lot more options available to you that we won't cover here. Just that would kind of be its own webinar topic on its own. And so who this is kind of really for is who's eligible with these new rules going forward. And then also Social Security benefits get more complicated if your spouse or ex-spouse has passed away. And a lot of times people confuse spousal benefits versus what Social Security Administration calls survivor benefits. And survivor benefits is what apply if your spouse or ex-spouse has passed away. And again, is just opens up a lot more complexity or different options for this. And so what we're talking about will not apply for survivor benefits, just if both spouses are still alive right now. And then last thing, just to kind of set a baseline here, all calculations for spousal benefit rely on you and your spouse's full retirement age benefits. And depending on when you were born, this is probably between age 66 and 67. Also, it's good just to start knowing what your full retirement age benefit is and what your spouse's is. And this is really easy to find on your latest Social Security statement. If you haven't looked at one in a while, I included the link here at the bottom, just ssa.gov/myaccount. And a really good first step is just understand or write down your benefit, your spouse's, and see if this applies to you. Because spousal benefits are not available to everyone. So to know if this applies to you, check, again, your and your spouse's full retirement age benefit amount. And if one of those benefits is less than half of the other, then this is going to apply to you. Then spousal Social Security benefits are something that's going to be a part of your plan. So just for example, if your full retirement age benefit is $1,800 per month and your spouse's is anything less than $900 per month, this is going to apply to you. And that's because with Social Security, you're entitled to receive the greater amount of either your full retirement age amount, and again, that's what's just easily found on your statement, or half of your spouse's full retirement age amount. And there's an asterisk here because it's not necessarily that simple, as we'll get into later. But if you do everything right, you can get a spousal benefit up to 50% of your spouse's full retirement age benefit. And then there's two basic requirements to qualify for spousal benefits. You or the person receiving spousal benefits must be at least age 62, and you have to have begun your own personal benefits. Again, even if it's less than your spouse's, you have to start your own benefits. and your spouse must be receiving their benefits. And so you can't get spousal benefits if your spouse has not begun their own benefits. And again, all this has changed in that 2015 law. These two requirements are really what is new that has changed how spousal benefits work. But right now, those are the requirements. So how exactly does spousal benefit get calculated? What's important to understand is that the Social Security Administration calculates what is called a maximum spousal benefit. And the calculation for this is taking half of your spouse's benefit and then subtracting your full retirement age benefit. And this is the most that Social Security will pay you. This max benefit does not change if you or your spouse delay Social Security past your full retirement age, or if you or your spouse claim benefits early. That max amount that Social Security is going to pay is just based on full retirement age benefits. And so just to start, maybe a really basic example, working off of those numbers I had mentioned earlier, let's say Anne has a personal full retirement age benefit from her own earnings of $800 per month, and her spouse has a full retirement age benefit of $1,800 per month. And so if Anne and her spouse both file their benefits at their full retirement age, Anne's spouse will receive $1,800 per month. Anne will receive her $800 per month benefit, and that will be trued up by Social Security with her max spousal benefit of $100 per month for $900 per month in total. And again, this is getting her up to 50% of her spouse's benefit. And so again, this is just kind of the most straightforward example, but hopefully just helps you see at a basic level how this starts to get calculated. But as we'll see here, going into some more examples, there is some complexity then that starts to make this not quite, so clear and straightforward. And for just one example here, this is something we've heard multiple times, and there's a lot of information on the internet that describes, spousal benefits maybe as just being a hard rule. You will always receive a minimum of half of your spouse's benefit. And again, that's really just not the case, or at least has not been the case since 2015. The most common variation of this that we hear is that people say, well, the lower earning spouse just might as well get their benefits started as early as possible, since that spousal benefit will bring them up to 50% of the larger spouse's benefit later. And that's not the case. Remember that Social Security calculates that maximum spousal benefit amount based on your full retirement age benefit. And so Anne is never going to get more than $100 per month in spousal benefits. So let's just say Anne begins her benefits at age 62. She'll receive a sharply reduced Social Security amount because she claims early. And so in this case, her benefit would drop to $563 per month, down from that $800 amount that's her full retirement age amount. Then remember that the spouse has to be claiming benefits for Anne to receive spousal benefits, but even once the spouse begins their benefits, and then becomes eligible for spousal benefits, she will not be bumped up to that $800 a month like in the previous example. Because she claimed early, her amount is reduced, and so she still gets that $100 benefit, but that $100 in this case just brings her up to $663 a month. And so here you can see that means Anne loses out on $237 per month for the rest of her life. And perhaps she did receive that reduced benefit, $563, for a period of time that she wouldn't have received, if she delayed. But the break even on this is really not good, because that $237 a month for your whole lifetime pretty quickly starts to trump the benefit of getting that really small benefit early on. In fact, just this example specifically has a break even that if Anne lives past age 71, it would have been worth it for her to get that full retirement age, or wait until full retirement age rather than 62. So just the key takeaway here, and really the most common misconception that we see with spousal benefits, is that the 50% benefit is still dependent on the lower spouse waiting until full retirement age. And in all but very unusual cases, it's worth it for the lower earning spouse to wait until full retirement age to get this started. Another scenario here is understanding the relationship between how delay credits on your Social Security compare to that boost from spousal benefits. And so perhaps Anne has heard that you get a benefit in delaying your Social Security. So she decides to delay her benefit a year to get that 8% boost. And so her new benefit would go from $800 a month to $864. But she will not receive that full $100 in spousal benefits anymore after this delay, because remember, the maximum benefit is set at 50% of her spouse's full retirement age benefit. So she still gets capped at that $900 per month going forward. And so ultimately in this scenario, what this meant is that by Anne delaying, she effectively lost out on a year's worth of benefits. And the credit for delaying wasn't enough to offset the spousal benefit that she should have received. And so delaying really had no impact at all for her, no benefit at all for her. And in the end, again, just this specific example, Anne and her spouse are left with $10,800 less in benefits than they should have gotten. And that's not $10,800 that's spread out over the course of their life even. That's, all at the start of their retirement in a single year. And so, potentially a big impact. And then just one more example here. I feel, again, we all know that delaying Social Security gets you an increase in benefits. And in general, there's we feel that delaying is very worthwhile for a lot of people. You'll read a lot of advice online about, delay if you can, but that's not always the case when spousal benefits come into play. Because remember, the lower earning spouse cannot get spousal benefits unless the higher earning spouse begins to claim. And so while the higher earning spouse, when they're delaying, it does increase their benefit, it also prevents Anne in this case from getting spousal benefits, at all. And so actually, ends up decreasing Anne's total benefit. And just for an example here, if Anne's spouse delays until age 70, Anne's benefit will only be $800 per month until her spouse begins their benefits at age 70. And, just again, in their case, this ends up resulting in about $24,200 in less benefits in the early years of retirement compared to if the higher earning spouse would have claimed a year earlier, so at age 69. They would have gotten a little less delay credit, but that would open Anne up to getting spousal benefits earlier. And when you just solve for, trying to get the most money out of Social Security, it's worth it in this case for the higher earning spouse not to delay all the way until age 70. And this scenario, as you might start to see, is starting to get a little bit more complex because now we're building in delay credits, and technically there is a break even here where the higher earning spouse delaying could end up benefiting them in the very long run. In this case specifically, this doesn't happen until their late 80s. And so, for most, that's a break even where it tends to be worth getting more money early in retirement, not counting on both spouses living, into their 90s. A lot of people like to get that increased benefit a little bit earlier on in retirement. But again, it's going to depend on the specific plan a little bit more than the previous two examples. But the big takeaway here is just to understand how delaying the higher earning spouse Social Security benefits will then impact spousal benefits going forward. And so, you just have to run the numbers and make sure you're comfortable with whatever trade-off is there. And so we, try to give some examples to show you some real numbers and show you how this looks in real life. But as these examples have progressed, you've probably seen that this can start to get a little bit complicated. And these numbers really start to vary as the difference between Anne's benefit and her spouse benefits would change. So just for example, if Anne had no benefit at all on her own, was relying just on the spousal benefit, then these scenarios get even more different. And in that case, delaying for the higher earning spouse becomes, even more of maybe not a great idea. And so, in these examples here, we're just trying to show you some real numbers, but this really can vary. It gets very personalized just with your financial plan, your numbers, and having benefits, that differ even just a little bit can really start to make different scenarios, more optimal for different couples. And then in these examples here, like I said, we were just optimizing for total amounts received from Social Security, which is a popular strategy, but we know that in reality, your financial plan has a lot more going on than just Social Security. And so maybe you're throwing in Roth conversions, for example, and now, maybe it's worth getting $2,000 less in Social Security if it means you're saving $10,000 in taxes or something like that, just for example. And so, again, this is just one example, but hopefully gives you an idea on how this can really get complicated and how, we really think there's benefits in looking at all of this holistically, not only just solving for Social Security benefits, but then looking at tax planning, investment management, and things like that. And, as clients, that's why we're here for you to help you, with this analysis or help you think through some of the trade-offs and all these decisions that you're having to make. And so some key takeaways here on spousal benefits, again, should be straightforward, but just a couple basic rules to make sure that you understand. The spouse with lower earnings needs to wait until full retirement age to get full benefits. There is not just some rule that you always get 50% of the higher earning spouse's benefits, no matter what. As I said, this is really, from our experience, the biggest misconception on spousal benefits. The higher earning spouse delaying does not impact spousal benefit amounts. And so while that higher earning spouse gets an increase in their benefits, as we saw, Anne would not get that same, kind of 8% increase in her spousal benefit. Spousal benefit is always just based on full retirement age benefits for both spouses. And then the spouse with the lower earnings does not receive spousal benefits until their spouse begins their own benefits. And again, this was a change, also a reason there's a lot of just kind of misunderstanding about how spousal benefits work. But that's another thing you just have to consider, is that both spouses pretty much have to be starting their benefits in order for spousal benefits to apply. And then just one last slide here. There's a few extra complexities that exist if you have been divorced and you're claiming spousal benefits on an ex-spouse. And so just again, so we're clear on the few of the rules there that apply. So if you want to claim spousal benefits from your ex-spouse, you have to still be age 62. Again, that's the same as before. You must have been married 10 years and been divorced for 2 years and then have not remarried. And so, again, just make sure that you meet those requirements as you start to think about the spousal benefits you might be eligible for from an ex-spouse. And the big difference when it comes to ex-spouse benefits is that the ex-spouse does not need to be claiming benefits. And again, they recognize that you're not really working as a household anymore. And so that requirement drops off. But by and large, it's still some of those same calculations on delaying at least till full retirement age, probably. And yeah, again, just kind of understanding that difference there.